From the Metrodome in Minneapolis, it's ESPN Wednesday Night Baseball as the Twins host the Rangers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our coverage. I'm Gary Miller. I'll be updating you from the studio on all the other action in the major leagues. Our game is underway. Let's catch you up on some of the action so far as they're playing the second inning. Willie Banks with a man on against the Rangers gets Doug Strange high in the zone, and right now it's a scoreless game. We'll get you out there in a moment, but first, big action going on at Tiger Stadium. As our game is scoreless, check out what's going on in Motown. The White Sox are coming out of their slump with the bases loaded. Ron Karkovic blasts his third career grand slam. That off Mike Moore. Joey Cora also homered in the first inning. Moore did not come out for the second inning. So the Tigers are down by a big 6-0 deficit to the White Sox in the fifth inning. All right, our game is the Rangers and the Twins. Minnesota's batting with a man on and one out. David McCarty at the plate. We take you out to the Metrodome now with Steve Zabriskie.
Thanks a lot, Gary, and welcome to the Minnesota Metrodome here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Steve Zabriskie along with Dave Campbell as we bring you the bottom of the second inning. No score as you see. Each team with a base hit, and here in the second, Shane Mack with one out walk and has stolen second. And rookie right fielder David McCarty is the hitter. And Dave, the Texas Rangers are struggling with many guys in a slump, and those who aren't in a slump are hurt.
Very true. They've lost 5 out of 6 games. They do have an off day tomorrow, so manager Kevin Kennedy is really trying to rest the troops. He has Gino Petralli catching, and Ivan Rodriguez, who normally catches, is DH. But Gonzalez out, Canseco out, Franco out. So the Rangers are not playing with all their weapons today.
And a ball 4 to McCarty. He puts runners at first and second with one out. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Twins are playing better.
They really are. They've won 5 out of their last 6, and up against a pretty tough young right-hander, Roger Pavlik, as Tom Kelly has finally, they've won 6 out of their last 7. Tom Kelly has seen a little bit of a bright light for the first time all year. This is a team that's endured a couple of 8-game losing streaks, and their pitching in the early part of the season was really horrible. It's been getting a little better during this current streak.
Mike Pagliarulo, the hitter, hitting .297, 2 homers and 11 RBIs with 2 on, 1 out, and no score. And a fastball for a strike.
Pagliarulo out most of last year with a couple of injuries. Mike bouncing back this year. A lot of guys penciled in to play third base, but he's playing against right-handers this year.
Shane Mack, the runner at second. David McCarty at first. And a play at second, but Houston saved it from going into the outfield as Mack was back easily.
Yeah, Jeff Houston now filling in for Manny Lee, and Houston just had rotator cuff surgery 4.5 months ago. But for Jeff, fortunately, it was his left shoulder, his non-throwing shoulder. So we look at Pavlik, the 25-year-old right-hander who began the year in AAA, but has pitched well since his recall.
The Rangers' rotation has not been as big a problem as their bullpen. Good play by Gino Petralli. And the bullpen has, along with the fact that the Rangers haven't been hitting, probably the 2 reasons, biggest at least, they've been on the skids lately.
Yeah, I saw a note today that when Kevin Brown and Charlie Lebrand have started, the club has gone 14-5, but the other 3 starters, and of course they've been missing Nolan Ryan ever since the start of the year. The other 3 starters, when they begin ball games, they've gone 11-20, and with the exception of Tom Henke, only Matt Whiteside has pitched well out of the pen. So that's been a problem area for Kennedy and for a lot of teams this year.
Fouled back, out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Mike Pagliarulo. Well, Roger Pavlik is 1-1 so far with a good ERA, 2.84, but he's only worked 13+ innings, counting tonight.
Started off in AAA ball, Okie City, had a 1.7 ERA that got his name into the mix. You can see their starters have not done too well. It's been Kevin Brown and Charlie Lebrand have gotten those 3 wins.
Pags lays off the off-speed pitch. Durwood Merrill, the third base umpire, says no on the appeal. 2-2. Still 1 out, bottom of the second, no score. But runners at first and second for Minnesota. Pagliarulo hits it high in the air and deep to right field. Doug DeCenzo back, out of here. a 3-run home run, and Minnesota up by that many just that quickly.
Steve, from 1985 through 87 in a 3-year span, Pagliarulo hit 79 home runs for the New York Yankees. In the last 4 years, he's hit a total of 23 over that span, but he gets a changeup here, goes down and just lifts it. It appeared to be in a pretty good location, but evidently Pagliarulo thought so too, and they get a big 3-run homer.
Jeff Reveille, the hitter, hitting just 173, no homers and 3 RBIs. And I think Pags was looking for the changeup.
He might have. Again, he had kind of a funky swing, let go of the bat with one hand, but he just got it on the fat part of the bat. And last night it was a big 3-run homer by Brian Harper in the 8th inning. It won the ball game, and then they start off here in the 2nd with a 3-run shot.
Grounded to short. Jeff Houston in time for out number 2 as Reveille is retired. Let's check out the Minnesota Twins lineup, since we're joining the game late. Gene Larkin is the designated hitter tonight. Chuck Knobloch at second base. Kirby Puckett in center. Kent Herbeck at first. Catcher Brian Harper bats 5th. Shane Mack in left field hitting 6th. David McCarty in right field bats 7th. And Mike Pagliarulo and Jeff Reveille at shortstop. So back to the top of the order for Gene Larkin, who grounded to first in the 1st, and he takes outside for a ball.
Mentioned those 2 8-game losing streaks the Twins have had. Their team ERA about 5.4, yet there's, you know, with the winning out of 6 out of 7 games, they're only 5.5 games back in a race that nobody seems to want to take charge of.
Only 6 games separating first and last place in the American League West starting play tonight. Fastball grounded, fair ball inside the first base bag. And DeCenzo having trouble with it in the corner. Here goes Larkin for 3rd. He'll make it.
Well, all Gene was thinking about was a double with 2 outs. You don't try for 3rd unless you know you can make it. But once DeCenzo had trouble playing the carom down the first base side as the ball clearly gets past Palmeiro, and Larkin knew he could make 3rd easily, and DeCenzo has to police it up. Gene easily into 3rd base with a stand-up triple.
You say easily. I don't know what Gene would say.
Yeah, I said a stand-up triple. It was a funny-looking stand-up slide triple. Get the man some oxygen.
Yeah, I don't know how easy it was either. Anyway, he's there with 2 out for Chuck Knobloch, who flied out to right field in the 1st inning and takes the ball.
Uncharted territories for Mr. Larkin, his first triple of the year. Probably told the 3rd base coach Ron Gardenhire, wait a minute, that's too far.
Call time quick. Knobloch has hit in 7 out of his last 8 games, hitting over 400. Down low, ball 2.
Pavlik had a good 1st inning, but 2 walks got him in hot water in the 2nd. And how often that happens, not only to the young pitchers, but veteran pitchers know too. You walk a couple of guys, you're going to pay for it sooner or later. And Pagliarulo hits the 3-run homer.
Here's Roger Pavlik.
See how he's improved his minor league numbers to earn this promotion.
Fastball hit in the air to center field. David Holtz right there hardly has to move, and the inning is over. However, 3 runs are in on the 2 walks and the 3-run homer by Mike Pagliarulo. And at the end of 2, 3-0 Minnesota over the Rangers. 3-0 Minnesota as we go to the 3rd. Here's the lineup for the Texas Rangers. They're throwing against young Willie Banks tonight. David Holtz center field leads it off. Doug DeCenzo in right. Rafael Palmeiro at first base. Yvonne Pudge Rodriguez, the designated hitter, hitting 4th. Dean Palmer, the 3rd baseman, 5th. Gina Petrali catching in 6th. Batting 7th, 2nd baseman Doug Strange. Butch Davis again in left for the Rangers, hitting 8th. And Jeff Houston, the shortstop, hits 9th. And here's Butch Davis batting for the first time tonight.
I've noticed ever since you've been living in Florida, you're getting more phonetic on those Spanish pronunciations. Rodriguez. Hey, very good.
A guy who was born in California, raised there, lived in Texas for many years, and now in Florida. You don't think I got that?
You got the border states covered.
I'm telling you. It's tough, though, when you don't have a You know, English is actually my second language, and
Yeah.
I don't have a first.
Yeah, I took English as a foreign language in school.
Rodriguez hits it well. Puckett on the run. Won't be able to get it. And Rodriguez in there at second with a double to lead off the third. Or Butch Davis. We're talking about Rodriguez. And it's Butch Davis.
I'll tell you, Butch probably was going to try a different area of the ballpark. Kirby Puckett jumped over the fence on Monday night and made one of his patented catches to take a home run away from Davis, but Butch went right back in there. The guy has spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. Butch Davis had a chance to play for Kevin Kennedy, and Kevin liked the way he was versatile, could use him a lot of different spots, didn't miss a home run by more than a foot.
And that double broken 0 for 11 for Butch Davis. He's at second with nobody out for Jeff Houston, who's hitting just 167, no homers and 2 RBIs.
It's all right. You had Rodriguez, and I had the stand-up triple, and we haven't spilled coffee yet, so we're still good. We're still good in the early going.
Off to a flying start. Fastball fouled away, out of play. No balls and 2 strikes to Houston. So far, or at least lately, the Texas Rangers have their first and their 9th spot in the order pretty much settled every night. Holtz has been batting first and Houston has been batting 9th. It's the 7 guys in between they've been scrambling with 4 or 5 regular players now injured.
Well, they can run an awesome offense up there if they get people healthy. Gonzalez, number 2 in the American League in home runs, tied with his teammate Dean Palmer behind Albert Bell. Canseco, number 3 in the league in RBIs. Franco, Palmeiro, Palmer. I mean, they can run some big guns at you, but unfortunately for the Rangers, a lot of them are hurt right now.
A real high pitch, almost eye high, popped in right field, and Chuck Knobloch out there. And the ball gets away on the backup, and here comes Butch Davis to score.
Well, it went into the dugout. That was just a mix-up right there. The pitcher, Willie Banks, was in such a hurry to try to grab the ball and go make a tag. He backed up the play properly, but then made the mistake of trying to go after it. So Butch Davis with alert base running, and that's a play that David McCarty should have taken charge of. Chuck Knobloch catching the ball. This play, the young right fielder has to call Knobloch off. He could have easily gotten there, and Knobloch has to turn, make the throw. And you can see way over, and was that Davis, or was that Willie Banks, or was that somebody else backing up? But whoever it was, he tried to grab it and come make a tag too soon and ended up missing the ball. So good hustle, but bad execution for the Twins defense. Maybe it was Rebele backing up.
Well, they have assigned an error, but not posted on whom the error is charged, and so maybe the official score is not sure either.
Well, I think it is interesting. I think you've got to give it to, if it was Rebele that was backing up. I mean, even though Knobloch's throw was high to third, Rebele just missed the ball because he was trying to grab it and run up and make the tag.
A lot of times, though, they'll give it to the guy who threw it if it's not in the vicinity of the bag.
I figure between you and me, we've probably seen 40,000 Major League games or so in our career. Something new every day.
Yep. Pounded by David Holtz, and the third baseman Paliarulo throws him out. 2 out here in the 3rd inning. They have given the error to the pitcher Willie Banks, who was backing up.
Yeah, I thought it was Banks, but it just didn't look like it in the replay. So Willie was in the proper position doing the right thing, and just it was a case of over hustle. So
there's Willie. Good record, fair ERA, but look at that opponent batting average.
Not too good. He's pitched well tonight. He struck out 4 in the first 2 innings. He's got a great fastball, an excellent curve, and he's shown a pretty good changeup early in the game tonight.
Doug DeCenzo, the hitter, he grounded to short his first time up.
Although he has had a tendency to bounce it. It's either been very good or bouncing, but it's better than hanging it up in their eyes.
DeCenzo, no hits in his last 22 at-bats. Hits this one well, high in the air to right field. David McCarty back there. Home run. Over the hefty bag. That is the 5th home run allowed by Willie Banks. And the Rangers' 2nd run of the inning, it's 3-2.
Steve, talked to you in between innings, and I said, let's see how the youngster reacts having a lead, and the answer is not very well. Good professional pitcher. When his team goes out and gets him a lead, you can see DeCenso just turns on a high fastball. It appears Banks has lost a little velocity in the inning after throwing very hard the first 2 innings. But a seasoned pro, his eyes light up when his team gets him 3 runs, and that makes him more bulldog determined to go out and shut the other team down.
Rafael Palmeiro hits it deep to right center field. This one's off the bag. And Raffy's going to cruise into second with a double. So 2 doubles and a home run here in the 3rd.
Bad location for Banks. And again, Dick Such, the pitching coach, going to come out and talk to him. I mean, Willie Banks, maybe in the minor leagues, he can get away with pitching up, but you can't get away pitching up in this league once you start to lose a little velocity. And it's hard to figure how a well-conditioned athlete like Banks can pitch so strongly in the first 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, just blowing people away. And all of a sudden, his fastball appears to be hanging right now. I don't know if he's opening up his body and the arms trailing or what, but he's got absolutely 0 on his fastball this inning.
Home plate umpire John Hirschbeck out to break up the meeting, but so far nobody throwing in the Minnesota bullpen.
Minnesota so far this year has played 48 ball games, and 12 times, 1/4 of them, they've given up double figures in runs. And as Tom Kelly says, I mean, he says that's 25% of the time that we don't even have a chance to win the ball game. And he's right.
Big win for him last night, as they haven't had many come from behind victories. You mentioned Harper's 3-run pinch hit home run. Curveball from Willie Banks for a strike. Yvonne Rodriguez grounded out to 3rd base in the 2nd inning. Working on a modest 5-game hitting streak. Fastball. Banks better location with that one.
Had a little better velocity on it too, and again, I mean, Willie has not shown any indication that his arm's bothering him this inning, but for some reason, sometimes a young pitcher like him will get a little messed up mechanically. He'll start opening up that shoulder, and that takes all the drive out of his forward thrust towards home plate, and then the fastball just has no zip on it whatsoever.
Up high. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Rafael Palmeiro, who doubled at second, and 2 runs in here in the 3rd inning for Texas, after Minnesota got 3 in the bottom half of the 2nd on Paliarulo's home run. Punched to right field. David McCarty, the tall, lanky right fielder, puts it away, and the inning is over. But 2 runs on 3 hits in the 3rd for the Rangers, and it's a 1-run lead for Willie Banks and the Twins. Welcome back to the Metrodome. Steve Zabriskie along with Dave Campbell. And Soupy, you mentioned that the division is such it seems like nobody wants to win it. Minnesota was a team a lot of people thought would take charge. They haven't.
Well, Minnesota's the team I picked along with the Baltimore Orioles, so you can see what an expert I am in the early going. But I guess the good news for the Twins, this little run of 6 out of 7 has them 5.5 back. They're far from out of it, but they know they have to get better pitching, and Willie Banks is going to be a key. They got to get Erickson and Tapani turned around, get some work out of Mahomes. There's a lot of ifs there that haven't been answered for the Twins, but if this guy gets hot, he can carry them for a while.
I'll tell you what, he is the leader on and off the field. The fastball on the inside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike to Kirby Puckett. Kirby singled to center in the 1st inning, nearly took Roger Pavlik's head off with a line drive up the middle, and he takes low 2-1. Kirby 1 home run away from 150 for his career. Foul ball out of play.
Kirby had his worst start this year through the first 40 games he's had in his major league career, 252, and a lot of people were espousing reasons why, but Tom Kelly just went to Kirby and said, hey, Kirby, you led the major leagues in opposite field hits last year. You're trying to pull the ball too much. And Kirby says, you really think so, Skip? But since he's been taking the ball to right center and up the middle, he's been starting to put it back together after an 8 for 58.
There he goes the other way, and he has his 2nd base hit.
Maybe Kirby can tell Rafael Palmeiro at first base about it, because that's been one of Palmeiro's problems. Rafael saw his average drop about 45 points last year. The year before, he had a tremendous number of hits to the opposite field. Last year, he got pull happy. Kirby just kind of inside outs this ball, so he's thinking other way. And boy, when you can take the inside pitch and hit it on a line to right field, you're going to be a 300 hitter.
Fourth hit for the Twins, who lead by 1. We're in the 3rd inning, nobody out, and Kent Hrbek the hitter. Hrbek flied out to short center field to end the 1st inning.
We never stop bringing you the stats. This man has the most indoor home runs of anybody in Major League history. How low can we go, folks?
Having played his whole career here, I think
just about.
You know, yeah.
You realize these two teams have something in common.
Yes, I do.
Yes. I mean, this is the battle of the former Washington Senators. Senators came to Minnesota in 1961, and a new franchise was formed in Washington called the Senators, and they moved to Texas in 1972. And we aren't going to have a team in Washington unless the Senators start tinkering with the antitrust legislation, yes. And then maybe we will have another Washington another Washington Senators club.
And it could be one of these two. No, I don't think so. Sharply hit the second. Doug Strange to Houston to Palmeiro for the double play. And Puckett's leadoff single is erased as Hrbek hits into the DP.
A lot of lean years of Washington baseball.
And yet, a team that had that little success spawned 2, count them, 2 franchises. Yeah, and hard to believe.
The Rangers have carried on that tradition. They haven't won a division title. The Twins, on the other hand, world champions 87, 91, went to the World Series 65. That was a pretty good World Series. Sandy Koufax and the Dodgers, Jim Cott. Pretty good series that year.
That's for sure. Brian Harper flying out to right field, and a shot speared by Dean Palmer. Well, they say third base is a reaction position. You just saw it right there, and the inning is over. 1 hit, nobody left in the 3rd. Still a 1-run game. Twilight time outside and baseball time inside. Dean Palmer, who made that fine play to end the inning, leads off the 5th. Don't see that very often.
No, not too often. I'll tell you what, this kid, I hope it doesn't sound sacrilegious because he isn't known to a lot of America yet, but this kid has a chance to be the next Mike Schmidt at third base. He's got that kind of raw talent.
Gets jammed, fouls it back. Let's go back and look at that play he made off the bat of Brian Harper.
And like Schmidt, great reactions. What a play. Acrobatic at third. He's improved defensively this year. 14 home runs, tied for second with teammate Juan Gonzalez. And he has big-time legitimate power.
He's been struggling lately, hitting just .203 in his last 22 games. Jammed again, and a good play by Rebele.
Well, when you're struggling, they always seem to make the good plays on you. It looked like Palmer maybe had a broken bat hit. Sometimes those kind of hits get you out of the slumps, but Rebele got a good jump, went back, and made an acrobatic catch.
1 out in the 4th, and the hitter Gino Petralli. Gino had a base hit to right field in the 2nd. A fastball inside. Ball 1.
Talked about all the Ranger injuries. This is a guy just coming back from injury. He had elbow surgery on his left elbow and just came back about a week and a half ago.
Missed spring training, basically, at least the last 4 weeks of it. Man, that's tough when you start the season the end of May. Fouled off.
Edgar Martinez trying to do it up in Seattle, and he's still struggling with that hamstring. He really ripped that thing loose up in Vancouver. Played some exhibition games up there just before the season. A number of players got injured. Kind of unusual. They have the artificial turf, but the dirt areas around the bases were very, very loose, and a lot of injuries occurred up there.
Seattle talking about playing some of their home games up there.
You know, they'll be packing down that dirt. You can bet on that.
They'll send their groundskeeper. 1 ball, 2 strike to Petralli. 1 out, nobody on, and a big curveball is high. 2-2.
You keep an eye, folks, on that Seattle ball club. Chris Bosio got lit up last night, and his control wasn't good, but he looks healthy again. Dave Fleming appears to be healthy. They may get Brian Holman back, and with Randy Johnson and Eric Hansen, they may just have the best pitching in the division in another month. And if they hang close, that could be a telling tale.
Yep.
They got some pretty good offensive players up there. Buhner and Griffey and Martinez. Chino Martinez, those guys don't have to take a back seat to anybody.
No, they're getting there. You know, they're kind of.
And if they don't, Lou Piniella will kill them.
They won't have any choice. Knobloch playing out in short right field, throws out Gino Petralli. 2 gone in the 4th.
Willie Banks settling back in after a rocky 3rd inning. Changing speeds a little better here, a better location.
Here's Doug Strange, who struck out swinging to end the 2nd inning.
Kind of a strange, no, I won't say it. That was a strange swing.
Yes, it was. Well, I think being a second baseman, he's aptly named.
Strange glove. This guy's provided some pleasant surprises for Texas. Big home run to beat Greg Olson early in the season of Baltimore. Hit a big home run off Rich DeLucia up in Seattle. And you tell me he had a big hit off somebody else, a game winner. So this guy is really come through for him, and really only got a chance because of a lot of injuries. Jeff Fry went down with a knee injury. Billy Ripken out with a hamstring.
Sharply hit, but right at Herbie, and the inning is over. A 1-2-3 4th for Willie Banks. It's still 3-2 Minnesota. We're in the middle of the 4th. Welcome back to the Metrodome. Bottom half of the 4th inning, Minnesota leading Texas 3-2. Shane Mack, the hitter, and he fouls off the first pitch for strike 1. Mack walked, stole second, his 4th steal of the year, and scored ahead of Mike Pagliarulo's 3-run home run in the 2nd inning.
Minnesota's offense hasn't been up to snuff this year, and this has been a big reason why. Shane out with a separated shoulder, then a bad forearm, just getting back into the lineup.
That's foul.
Guy that's hit 300 3 years in a row, and a hard 300. Ron Gardenhire places it up. Kid had a stay with San Diego, but really never looked, and I saw him play there many years, never looked like he was going to hit at this level, but he's very determined. He's a hard worker, and that's what Minnesota recruits. They love guys with great work ethics, and Mack has one. He made himself a terrific ball player.
Just outside, 1-2.
When Andy McPhail looks for guys that he might think can help his club, first thing he asks is he a good worker? And that's why Mike Pagliarulo got a shot here, because he's always had that kind of ethic as well.
Good breaking ball for strike 3. And that's the first strikeout for Roger Pavlik. But, you know, I was talking to Ron Gardenhire, the third base coach, before the game. He says this roof here in the Metrodome, which has a bad reputation, David, the older it gets, the dirtier it gets, and the worse it is as far as seeing the ball.
Is that right? I thought maybe when it got darker it'd be better.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay. But Dave Henderson of the Oakland A's, he says he can't play center field here. If he's going to play outfield, he has to go to right field. He just cannot see the ball here at the Metrodome.
David McCarthy, the hitter. McCarty, I should say. And, you know, this is, I don't think it's as bad as the Astrodome was when it first opened.
No.
In fact, in the Astrodome, before they painted the roof in the daytime, you couldn't see a football, let alone a baseball. But there are a lot of guys who have trouble here.
Just hate to see a game change on a routine play, but many a time it has.
McCarty, who made his major league debut back on May 17th, was hitting almost 400 in the Pacific Coast League, 398 when they called him up. He was second in the PCL. I can see that guy who was hitting first.
Out of that sports factory up in Northern California, Stanford. I'll tell you what, I just got through seeing Baltimore play.
Mike Mussina.
Mussina. They got a kid, Jeffrey Hammonds. Well, Baltimore's got 5 kids. Paul Carey was supposed to play today. He's out of Stanford. They got 5 kids signed out of Stanford.
Tapped to short. Jeff Houston throws out McCarty, and that's 2 out here in the 4th inning. Well, we got baseball, but man, do we have hockey. The Stanley Cup Finals underway. Game 2 tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. The LA Kings and the Montreal Canadiens. The Kings won Game 1 last night, 4-1. In case you missed it. Luke Robitaille, 2 goals. Wayne Gretzky, a goal and 3 assists. So tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time. Game 2, Stanley Cup Finals, right here on ESPN. Mike Pagliarulo, who has the 3 runs on his 3rd home run of the year in the 2nd inning, batting here with 2 out and nobody on.
You know what's going to happen if too many more guys out of Stanford make the major leagues, don't you? They'll drop the sport.
They're gonna have to, or else there'll be an investigation for their
Mark Marcus. They'll say, geez, you know, this is supposed to be a institution of higher learning. We're not a sports producing factory.
We'll have to check those admission stats.
I mean, what do you mean this guy scored 1,500 on his SATs? He can't play in the big leagues if he did that.
There's some people who believe that's true. Pagliarulo with another rocket to right. Back on the warning track, Doug DeCenso hauls in a line drive out, and the inning is over. Minnesota goes in order, but still leads it 3-2. Welcome back to the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, Homerdome, as it has been known in the world of baseball, and we've seen a couple leave the yard here tonight. Butch Davis almost put one out of here, doubling off the wall in right center, breaking an 0-for-11 skid, leading off the 3rd inning. He later, the 3rd, he later scored. Inside. 2-0.
See what Banks comes with here. This is always looking at a young pitcher. Expect fastball. One of these days he's going to learn how to spin a pitch in this count and get it over for a strike.
But he throws a fastball low, and it's now 3-0. Davis, Jeff Houston, in the top of the order, David Holtz, here in the 5th inning for the Rangers. And ball 4. That is the first walk issued by Willie Banks.
Banks had been ahead of 10 of the first 16 hitters, throwing strike 1, which is always a good sign, particularly for a young pitcher. You don't want to get behind in the count, but he walks Davis on 4. So the tying run aboard. And I think Brian Harper's going to go out and talk to Willie. He wasn't real happy with either the 2-0 or the 3-0 call from home plate umpire John Hirschbeck. So I think Harper just going out to settle him down and said, forget it. Come on back. Let's get this guy.
And this guy is Jeff Houston, who flied out to right field in the 3rd. You know, even you mentioned his rotator cuff surgery in the off season in January, and the fact that it was on his left shoulder, even though that's not his throwing arm, you got to believe it affected his hitting, especially in spring training.
Yeah, Jeff's never been a big power guy, but one thing about it, with his absence, I think the Rangers kind of found out how much they missed this guy. Very valuable middle infielder, can play second or short. Primarily a shortstop, but you look at his numbers at second base over the last few years. Hadn't made an error in over a year at second base, and he turned in probably the best play I've seen by a second baseman in the last 10 years. Last year against Cal Ripken, grabbing one up the middle, flipping the ball behind his back with the bases loaded to start a double play. It was something else. Probably couldn't have done it again in 10 years if he'd go out every day and practice it.
Not bunting this time. He punches it up the middle for a base hit. Davis makes the turn at second, but Puckett will hold him. So the Rangers, down by a run, have something going here in the 5th inning with a walk and a base hit, runners at first and second, and nobody out.
See if Kevin Kennedy has David Holtz trying to bunt the men along. Not a bad idea to take a shot at getting the tying run at 3rd and the go-ahead run to 2nd.
Holtz is 0 for 2. He has struck out swinging and grounded to 3rd.
That old 5th inning, that's one of the things the young pitchers, they get out there with a lead and they go, well, I can get through this one. I got a chance to win the game, but don't think too much, guys. Like we were saying about that 1,500 on the SATs. What'd you say Timmy says?
McCarver says, you think long, you think wrong.
Absolutely.
Check those brains in the clubhouse. Just get out and play. Popped it up. Shane Mack laid at first. Actually, the ball bunted up in the air after going down on the plate. And Holtz beats it out. The bases are loaded with nobody out.
See if he bunts it down off the plate. He did, and that's what caused the high kangaroo hop. And then over to get it, Banks, who's an excellent fielding pitcher, and Holtz, though, with a good speed. So by bunting it down off the plate. gets himself an infield hit, and the Twins are in trouble, and the Rangers are in business.
It's a base hit for David Holtz, the 6th hit for the Texas Rangers, and Doug DeCenzo, who homered in the 3rd, his 3rd of the year, or his 2nd of the year, is the hitter. A fastball right in there for a strike.
I think probably the most instinctive baseball player I ever saw was Willie Mays. Never made a mental error, always ran the bases brilliantly. This is what DeCenzo did last time up. He homered. But Willie had a great philosophy on baseball. He says, they throw it, I hit it. They hit it, I catch it. And it's about as simple as it is.
That's right. Of course, there are a lot of guys in the big leagues who tell you, yeah, if I had that kind of talent,
yeah, really,
I'd take the same approach. But most guys have to work at it. Activity now in the Minnesota bullpen.
Mike Tremblay up and throwing. He was in the rotation earlier in the year, but like many of the Twin starters, has struggled, so they're trying him out of the pen now.
1 ball, 1 strike to DeCenzo, and a strike at the letters.
It's a changeup, and you usually don't like to see that pitch up, but he had a little tailing movement to that, and the good arm speed fooled DeCenzo. So Willie's ahead in the count, 1-2.
Butch Davis, the runner at 3rd, he walked to lead off the inning. Jeff Hewson with a single to center is at 2nd, and David Holtz, with trying to sacrifice and getting a bunt base hit, is at 1st. And a breaking ball stays way high, 2-2.
Well, I didn't think the 1-1 pitch was too bad to DeCenzo, but I don't think you want to throw kind of a banjo type hitter too many changeups. You do them a favor. He's throwing them 2 changeups in a row. I think maybe you want to try to bust him inside here.
He did. He did, and he did. Strikeout number 5 for Willie Banks, and a big one with nobody out and the bases loaded.
He really got some extra mustard on this fastball, up and in, and DeCenzo couldn't lay off it. Great pitch by Banks. But had he gotten that 1-2 changeup over. See, the thing about a changeup, when you got 2 strikes in the hitter, they're very defensive. They're just trying to put the ball in play anyway. You want to throw a changeup when they're looking fastball, 2-1, 3-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes, I don't think is a real good time for a changeup to a punch and Judy type hitter.
Palmeiro has struck out and doubled, and an off-speed pitch for a strike.
And he's got good confidence in that changeup right now. You see the little tailing motion on that pitch. It kind of fades away. That started inside and then came across the inside corner.
That really is a bonus on that pitch when you get that kind of movement. The fastball up high, 1-1.
You saw Brian Harper just before that pitch try to calm Banks down. Willie feels good now. He got a big strikeout. The adrenaline is really rushing. But Harper knows he has a tendency to want to overthrow that fastball. So before Brian called that pitch, he put his hands up. Take it easy. But Banks still reared back and just threw it as hard as he could.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Ground ball foul outside first, and it's a ball and 2 strikes to Palmeiro. Minnesota leading 3-2. We're in the top half of the 5th inning. And you can see that Palmeiro has had it going fairly well the last 19 games. Fouled away. Still 1-2.
I tell you, Banks is really pitching Palmeiro well. He's thrown him 2 changeups, a fastball up and in, a good fastball down and away. The youngsters made some quality pitches here. And not only is this game on the line here in the 5th inning, but if Banks could get out of a bases loaded, nobody out situation without giving anything up, can you imagine what that does for the confidence level as the season progresses? If you do something once, you have confidence you can do it again.
Punch to second. Could be 2. Knobloch, Rabelais, and it is. Big double play for Willie Banks and the Twins with the bases loaded and nobody out. Texas does not score. Rabelais will lead it off for Minnesota and hits the first pitch into right field for a base hit to start the 5th inning. Rabelais had grounded to short his first time up. And that big double play has Texas had the bases loaded with nobody out. Banks got the strikeout and then makes a good pitch to get the big 2.
He really did. Another great changeup. You can see it tailing away. Palmeiro with a one-handed swing. Taylor made double play. So there are those moments in each game when it can swing. We have that one circled and starred. May refer back to it if Willie Banks goes on to continue pitching well. But that was a key inning psychologically. 5th inning, got to get over that hump. Bases loaded, nobody out. Gets the strikeout and the double play and made key pitches to do it.
Gene Larkin, the hitter, the DH tonight, leading it off. Batting here with Rebele at first and nobody out. Larkin has grounded to first and tripled it to right. And Rebele, who has yet to steal a base this year and has attempted only one, draws another throw.
Sometimes this can be the most complex of all major sports. There's so much strategy, but most of the time you can break it down into very simple equations. As you said on the break, we ain't doing brain surgery here, folks. You go strike 1 to the hitters if you're a pitcher. You get the first guy out in the inning, you lower your chances of run scored. If your team scores first, you win 67% of the time. That's almost universal year in and year out.
Just outside, ball 1.
Of course, that's the philosophy of the game. The execution is sometimes a different story.
And I think that's what leads to managers' frustrations, is because so many managers understand that, and certainly most managers understand that. They try to communicate that to players, but the game is so much its own entity that, you know, making that happen is a lot easier to talk about than to have consistently.
Well, I think what happens, Steve, is you really get too close to the forest to see the trees. I mean, I always considered myself a very intelligent player, but until I got away from the game and got up here and watched it, then it became, you know, much more clear about, you know, the percentages and how things work. I heard managers talk about those kind of things, but, you know, you're always worried about, gosh, you know, I got to get a couple of hits tonight to stay in the major leagues, and, you know, my team's going to lose 100, and I mean, you're not really focusing on the big picture as much when you're a player.
Now, maybe you've hit on something here, Dave. Maybe we should have all players be broadcasters first instead of after their careers are over.
Well, look at the guys who've been out for a while. Look at Kirk Gibson. He was out for about 5 months last year. He got away from the game for a while, maybe realized some things, and man, look at the kind of job he's doing this year.
Yep. Rebirth.
Yeah, you gotta have a sabbatical in the middle of your career.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, for most guys, it would be the end of their career. Permanent sabbatical. The 1-2 pitch to Larkin has popped up in the infield. Doug Strange, the second baseman. One away. Let's check in with the studio and Gary Miller.
Steve, we go to Bush. Can anything slow down the Cardinals? Or the Dodgers, rather. The Cardinals had homered just once in their last 16. How about that? Greg Jeffries leads the team. That's his 7th of the year as he leaves the yard. 3 runs in the opening inning off Pedro Estacio. But the Dodgers have won 13 of 14, and Corey Snarder gets them within a run in the next inning off Donovan Osborne, his 3rd of the year. It's a 1-run game in the 4th. Back to you.
Thanks, Gary. We have a 1-run game in the 5th. 3-2 also, with the Twins leading the Rangers. Roger Pavlik on the mound, down by that run with a runner at first and 1 out, and Chuck Knobloch, the hitter. Knobloch 0 for 2 is flying to right and flying to center.
Excellent hit and run guy. Might be a pretty good time to put it on if you're Tom Kelly. Knobloch was voted the best hit and run man by the managers and coaches in this league last year. Kevin Kennedy, although he was over in the National League last year, has a number of coaches that were in the American League. I'm sure he's wary of this. Got to think maybe pitch out here, or maybe the runner goes and they do the hit and run.
Pitch out, but Jeff Rebele, the runner at first, not in motion.
Another guy off sabbatical did pretty well today. Looks like Fernando got a win out in Oakland for the Orioles.
Yeah.
I was reading a note by Thomas Boswell, the great writer for the Washington Post. He was kind of equating Fernando to Louis Tiant. Tiant was out of action for 18 months when he was in his 30s, then came back to pitch 8 more years and have 3 20-win seasons. So you never know.
Well, and as many innings as Fernando pitched early in his career, he could use the time off. Knobloch with another fly ball to right field. Doug DeCenzo has it. 2 out. as Jeff Reveille remains at first. Knobloch, incidentally, out of Texas A&M. And guess what? Those Aggies are in the College World Series. They have game 1 at 4 Eastern time on Friday. They'll be playing Kansas. Game 2 at 7:30 Eastern time. Long Beach State against LSU that won it all back in 1991. There's the lineup. The 8 teams going at it. Texas A&M seeded number 1, even though during the regular season Arizona State finished ranked number 1. A minor controversy there, but since my oldest daughter goes to A&M, I'll take it.
Were you on the seating committee?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, sir. Kirby Puckett went a little too far for strike 1. Puckett 2 for 2, a single to center and a single to right.
Notorious first ball hitter. Led the American League in going after the first pitch last year. So maybe Kirby's the exception, throwing a fat strike on strike 1. It might be wise to do what Pavlik did this there. Spin one up there. It looks like it's a strike, and then have it dip out.
Jeff Reveille led off the inning with a base hit. He's still at first with 2 out. Pavlik stepping off. With Kirby the hitter, would you think about sending Reveille here?
I think only if you get 2 strikes on him. I think you let him take a pop. He's swinging the bat awfully well right now.
A slider, it appeared to be, fouled out of play. So
you know what?
It's 2 strikes.
Once you get down in the count 0-2 and 1-2, Kirby's going to try to put the ball in play somewhere, but kind of takes away from your power a little bit. But if you get Reveille down to second, then Kirby can shorten his field up, just go for a single. So it might be a time to send him. And worst case scenario, you get Kirby leading off next inning, starting with a fresh count.
Pavlik wanted a different baseball.
Now it was the catcher, Gino Petrali. He says the seams don't feel right to throw to second base. I'd like to see a catcher throw the ball out someday. Sorry, Ump, if seams don't feel quite right, I know this guy's going to steal.
Don't laugh. It may have already happened. And there goes Reveille, and Puckett fouls it off. It's still strike 2.
We have Tom Kelly hooked up in the dugout. He's giving us the signals tonight.
I was going to say.
Not true.
Are you going for the manager's job that next opens up here?
No, thank you.
Kevin Kennedy, manager of the Rangers, trying to keep his club close as they have just after last night fell to the 500 mark, losing to Minnesota. And with 4 or 5 guys, Gary Reedus, who's been a key role player, pulling a hamstring last night, he's not available. There goes Reveille again, and Puckett with a pitch out of the strike zone pops it up, but it's going to be out of play as well. And I was talking to Reedus in the clubhouse before the game, and he said, yeah, but I'm not an important guy. I said, those 3 or 4 guys who got hurt before you made you a very important guy. They really only have 1 healthy bench player on the Rangers right now.
Nice guy, Gary Reedus. Always have enjoyed him. Terrific guy.
So the strategy continues with a 2-strike count to Puckett. We'll see if Reveille's running again.
About time for the old pitch out, isn't it? Take a look.
I would think so.
Of course, the way Kirby's hacking up there, he may swing at the pitch out.
It's still 0-2, 2 out. This time Reveille's not going. Tom Kelly probably thinking it's got to be time for the pitch out as well. 1-2.
Tribe settling back to earth after a 15-run explosion last night. Dallas has got him going.
Yeah, the Doc won today. Good in the winter in Chicago for the Mets. St. Louis still leading the Dodgers 3-2.
Roger, the fist or 4-4-4 means pitch out. Okay.
Not a good sign when you can't get together and there is no runner at second. I'll tell you what, I think most people underestimate, even if they're aware to some degree, the value of an experienced catcher. And Gino Petrelli certainly is that, especially when you have a young pitcher like Pavlik on the mound as he gets Rebele to dive back in.
Yeah, and Kevin Kennedy acknowledged that tonight, talking about young Rodriguez. I mean, brilliant tools, but Kevin said he's still learning about calling the ball game.
Rebele not running, and a breaking pitch line to center field. Another base hit for Kirby Puckett as Rebele will go to third.
Now, the book on Kirby Puckett is he'll go through his slumps during the course of the year, but he can get 10 hits faster in a 3-game series than anybody you've seen. He's got 3 hits tonight. When he gets in a groove, I mean, he just hacks everything. Another inside-out swing, and he's thinking right field, and that's got him in a much better groove right now.
He's had a base hit to center, a base hit to right, and a base hit to right center. There's a coach in the dugout that's pretty happy right now.
I suspect it's probably Terry Crowley, the batting coach. He's been saying, Kirby, you got to go the other way.
And when a player not only takes the advice but demonstrates it, I guess that's what coaching is all about. Herbeck tonight is flied to center and grounded into a double play. Ball 1. Kirby came into this game hitting .328 at home. He's always hit well here, and only .197 on the road this year. But he's 0 for 2 tonight. Skied down the left field line, slicing out of play.
Kirby's doing some funny things with his stance right now. I don't think I've ever seen that stance where he's just standing completely upright and laying the bat on the shoulder.
Sort of like Mickey Tettleton of the Tigers.
Kind of looks a little bit like it.
And I've always felt it's difficult to hit that way because you've got a lot of things you've got to do to get yourself in a position to put the bat head on the ball.
Yeah, and Cal Ripken has gone back to that pretty much that same type stance, upright, feet close together, and maybe taking the bat a little bit off his shoulder. He did that change about a week and a half ago and has been swinging the bat pretty well. So sometimes you just have to make adjustments when something isn't working for you.
Well, there's the play that I've never seen work. I guess somewhere it did, but they faked to third and they looked to first.
Well, we actually had one earlier this year on ESPN. Greg Harris did it and caught Barry Bonds. As I often say, I think Harris balked on the play, but no call, and Bonds was hung out to dry.
I remember hearing about that. I have yet to witness that myself, and I'm still waiting.
Are you doing the College World Series this year?
No.
Oh, because
that's where it could happen.
That could happen. That play is very popular in Omaha. And the other one is my favorite, where the pitcher throws the ball over to first, backs off the rubber, fakes the throw, and the first baseman goes running down the right field line, and there's been no throw at all. The first baseman has it in his glove all along, and the runner starts taking off for second. They got some great trick plays in college ball. They don't believe Yogi's axiom that there's no trick plays in baseball.
Herbeck punches it out of play, and it's 2-2. Two out. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Minnesota leading Texas by 1. Runners at first and third, and a 2-2 count to Kent Herbeck.
Pavlik trying to stay away from Herbie, keep it out of the wheelhouse. Pretty good idea, because the big guy likes it on the inner half, especially where he's standing right now. He's well off the plate, way back in the box.
Strike 3 called on a slider at the knees. Herbeck jawing with John Hirschbeck, but he's out of there. The inning is over, and the Twins lead 2 here in the 5th. They still lead it, however, by 1.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Fresh, pure, natural. Proud to be your Bud.
Has fallen in Minneapolis here in the Twin Cities after a lovely day and a nice sunset we saw. Willie Banks asked for the trainer Dick Martin to come out, And manager Tom Kelly as well, as he started this inning. This just a moment ago, and Willie Banks, in essence, I guess, has taken himself out of the game, Dave.
Boy, how it changes. He had that brilliant comeback in the 5th inning after the loading the bases with nobody out, a strikeout in the double play, but he came out and threw a couple of pitches here at the top of the 6th and kind of grabbed at the bicep area. So Mike Trombley is going to come out of the bullpen, and of course, under the rules of baseball, when a pitcher is replaced because of an injury, you get as many tosses as you feel you need to warm up. Trombley was up last inning, so it probably wouldn't take him as long if he were just coming in cold turkey. But Trombley will be given as long as he needs here.
Well, the good news for Banks is that he did go the obligatory 5 innings, and he leaves with a 1-run lead, so he has an opportunity to pick up the victory should the Minnesota pen do the job. While Twombly warms up, we'll take a break and return to the Metrodome in just a minute. Rodriguez leads off the 6th inning against rookie Mike Twombly, whose first pitch is high, ball 1. Rodriguez 0 for 2. Grounded to third and flied to right. Minnesota leading 3-2 as Willie Banks has pulled a muscle apparently in his arm. Well, it appeared to be anyway, and has left the game. A rocket, but it is foul outside the left field line.
Well, because I didn't go to Stanford, I was looking at Trombley's bio. He comes from a hometown I can't pronounce. Went to a high school that I can't pronounce that either. But he went to Duke University. I was pretty good at that one. When I read that, I knew I could get 1 out of 3.
1-syllable and 4-letter words are what baseball players know best. Foul down the right field line. A long run for McCarty, and he runs out of room.
Let me look at that Prescott. Let me give a half stab at this hometown.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
He was born and raised in Wilbraham. It looks like Wilbraham, Mass, and went to Minnechauga Regional High School.
Punched well to left field. Shane Mack back. Has it. Rodriguez with a bullet, and Shane Mack with a leaping grab for out number 1.
Well, Trombley has been victimized by the gopher ball this year. Mack, good athlete. A lot of people think he's the best pure athlete on this Minnesota team. Has good coordination, makes a terrific play. That stops the leadoff double at least for Rodriguez. Shane banged that shoulder that he dislocated into the fence, but with no apparent problem.
Well, I think he braced himself pretty well, even though he was going hard. He appeared to be somewhat prepared. Dean Palmer, the hitter, he's 0 for 2. Struck out and hit a soft looping liner to short. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Palmer is struggling a little bit at the plate. Pulled off that pitch. His front shoulder's flying a little bit. He did hit a 3-run homer in the 1st inning last night.
Sometimes, if you're in a slump, that's not a good thing. And as we were talking with Puckett, you want to try to hit the ball up the middle, hit it the other way. May only perpetuate your problem. On the outside corner, 2-2.
Well, one thing, when you are letting that front shoulder fly a little bit, you have no chance of covering that pitch right there, the outside corner. So Dean, just a little mechanical flaw, has that shoulder fly. The only thing he's really going to be able to hit hard is something on the inner half.
A breaking ball. It's inside, and it's popped up into center field. Kirby Puckett lost it and comes on at the last minute to make the catch. There's that Metrodome bubble again.
Absolutely. In the case right there where a hitter's struggling a little bit, Palmer may have decided to try to cover the outside part of the plate and got jammed with a slider that hung right in his eyes, and Kirby can't find it and then goes, whoa.
The other problem you have here is that the lights, out of necessity, are hung in an area that certain balls pass right through, both on the way up and the way down sometimes. 2 out, nobody on for Gino Petrelli. It was 1 for 2. He singled to right in the 2nd, grounded to 2nd in the 4th. Minnesota leading by a run. We're in the 6th inning. Ground ball to Chuck Knobloch, and an easy inning in relief for Mike Twombly, who retires the Rangers in order in the 6th inning. Roger Pavlik still in there, trailing by a run as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Minnesota leading 3-2 over the Rangers. And the Twins will send up Brian Harper, Shane Mack, and David McCarty here in the 6th inning. Harper takes inside ball 1. Brian 0 for 2, flying to right, and lined hard to third. A fine play by Dean Palmer, grabbing a ball that certainly would have been an extra base hit down the line. Down low, ball 2.
You told me earlier in between innings that you talked to Winfield, and he said Harper was really locked in.
Yeah, Harper's been hitting hard outs in his last 36 games. He's hit .336. He's also hitting this year .410 with runners in scoring position. So scoreboard says 2 outs, and Harper's leading off the inning. I think he had the 2 in the wrong place because it was 2 balls.
We had to embarrass him on national TV, and he realized it right away.
I'll tell you, those directors are merciless. They just go for the jugular. 2-1 to Harper. And he hits it hard, high, and deep to left field, and it is gone. Who hit a 3-run pinch hit home run last night, doubles the Twins' lead here.
Now, sometimes you can pitch hitters inside, but not a guy who's got the short stroke like Brian Harper, about thigh high. And Pavlik, who's pitched fairly well tonight, gave up the 3-run homer after a couple of walks in the 2nd, settled in nicely, but gives up a leadoff homer here to Harper in the 6th.
Harper's 5th of the year, his 28th RBI, and Shane Mack pops up the first pitch on the right side. Rafael Palmeiro in fair territory for out number 1.
Kevin Kennedy, after last night's game, really ripped into his club about giving Harper a pitch in that situation on the inner half that he could turn on, and he said his players responded well to that. They sat down and talked about it after the mini tirade in the clubhouse, and Brian Bohannon, who served up the pitch, came up to Kevin and said, you know, I know I made a mistake, but he said, you know, I really do want to learn, so don't feel bad about jumping on my backside.
David McCarty. Strike 1. McCarty has walked and scored and grounded to short. This was today's paper. Harper's homer wins. Well, may not be the winning run, but it certainly is contributing as it moves the lead from 3-2 to 4-2, and that can be a very big run.
The book's still out on David McCarty. Everybody knows he's going to be a terrific hitter up here. They said when Mack came back, they were going to send him back to AAA because they didn't want him sitting here. But if he keeps hitting, he may knock Pedro Munoz right out of a job.
McCarty has hit in 8 straight coming into tonight, hitting .382 and 12 of his 13 games. And he hits this one well to left. Butch Davis on the run again, and it's out of here. You see that smile? That's because that's his first big league dinger. They'll be trying to get that souvenir back for David McCarty.
I tell you, the way that fan ran up the aisle, it may be tough for David to get that one back. Pavlik threw him a couple of breaking balls away, but then hung a breaking ball inside. And McCarty with a nice short stroke. See that slider just hung inside. McCarty really drops the head on. So 2 mistakes on the inner half to Harper and McCarty. Back-to-back homers, and the Twins have expanded their lead to 3.
Mike Pagliarulo, who hit a 3-run home run in the 2nd inning, fouls it off. McCarty is officially a big league hitter right now.
Drove it deep.
355 feet, they say.
I think back to the first one I hit. I got back to the dugout. I was playing with Detroit in 1968, and they said, son, that's just going to be the first of many. Like 24 liars on that bench. It was the first of a few.
Paliarulo holds up. Activity in the Rangers bullpen. Todd Burns throwing.
Burns has been in rotation, but because of the off day tomorrow, they'll bypass him, so he's in the pen temporarily. Nolan Ryan, they thought they were going to get him back, and then he had the boating accident this week. That's going to set him back longer even. Nolan ended up cutting his foot on a water ski. He wasn't water skiing. He was actually driving the boat, but when he got out, he slipped, cut his foot, and that's going to knock him back another couple of weeks.
Ball 4. Paliarulo walks, still only 1 out in the inning. 2 runs in on solo homers by Harper and McCarty.
Well, not too surprising. You give up back-to-back homers, you start questioning your stuff. You start getting a little bit antsy about that strike zone. And Kevin Kennedy sitting. He's not long for leaving Pavlik in. He apparently decided to let him have at least one more shot with Rebele here.
Mickey Hatcher, one of the Ranger coaches, positioning the defense. Rebele 1 for 2 is grounded to short and singled, and with the runner going, Paliarulo, he fouls it off for strike 1.
Knowing Mickey and his sense of humor, he may have been giving a signal to Butch Davis to go sit in the left field seats, maybe make a play up there.
Now Mickey would say he just didn't position him high enough.
Go back and stand on that fence, son. See if you can take a home run away from him.
Well, Rebele, not much of a home run threat. Batting here with only 1 out.
Hit one back in Little League. Nah, I'm not taking that job.
Slider for a strike.
Look at that scoreboard up there, Steve. San Francisco leading Florida 3-2. I mean, that Florida team has been competitive.
They're
have not
in almost every game.
Yeah, I heard yesterday on a radio station, so it might. I don't know if it's everything you believe you hear, but I've heard they have not been swept in a series this year.
Punched foul just outside the first base bag. Strike 2 the count. And Paliarulo will go back to first. We have a report on Willie Banks, by the way. It was tightness in his right shoulder.
He's had some problems with his shoulder over the past 2 or 3 years, so we hope it's, for Willie and the Twins' sake, nothing real serious.
He is still the pitcher of record as the winner at this point, and has gotten a little help from his friends here in the 6th inning. It is now a 5-2 Minnesota lead, and it right on the hip of Jeff Rebele.
Well, you never know. Rebele was reaching out, spanking the outside pitch the other way. Pavlik could have been trying to drive him off the plate, but that's going to be his swan song for the evening as Kevin Kennedy takes the long, slow walk out. Rebele kept leaning out over the plate, and boy, that one hits him right on the hip bone. No place to go there. No place to hide. Just buried in there.
That was probably a combination of diving over the plate and the 2 home runs previously in the inning that might have had something to do with it. Todd Burns will come into the game as Pavlik will leave with 1 out and 2 aboard here in the 6th inning. We'll be back. And no saves, makes his 12th appearance as he comes in relief of Roger Pavlik with 1 out here in the 6th inning. Top of the order, and Gene Larkin. Ground ball to first. Palmeiro, and that's all they're going to get. Jeff Houston lost his footing. I don't know that he would have had a play anyway. On the play, Mike Paliarulo moves over to third.
I just wonder if Houston hurt that shoulder again. He's gimping a little bit out there when he landed on that arm. the left shoulder. But Palmeiro makes a good play to get the lead runner at second base because that keeps the double play alive. But let's see how Houston lands when he slips, if we can follow it. He braces with the left hand a little bit when he starts to fall. Comes down. The feet go out from underneath him. That shouldn't create too much damage, but you can see Jeff kind of grab at that left elbow a little bit.
He winced.
Little shock wave up through the shoulder.
Gotta be. Chuck Knobloch, the hitter now. Runners at first and third and 2 out, and Gino Petralli going through a series of signs. Knobloch 0 for 3, fouled on the play for strike 1. Knobloch's hit the ball in the air all 3 times, twice to right field and once to center. He came into this game on fire. He was hitting .356 over his previous 18 games. Fastball by Palmeiro, base hit. Pagliarulo scores, but out at third is Gene Larkin, and the inning is over. Pagliarulo adds another run, the third of the inning. It is 6-2 now, Minnesota after 6. A 3-run 6th inning has given the Twins a 6-2 lead as we go to the 7th. And a reminder, in addition to hockey, baseball, and everything else, the French Open from Roland Garros tomorrow beginning at 9 a.m., 6 a.m. Pacific time if you want to get up that early. Men's quarterfinals, women's semis, French Open here on ESPN. Doug Strange.
Hope all our broadcast personnel have rent-a-cars over there, because sure can't get a cab in that city. You an American? See you later, Mac.
We're going to get the conclusion of a match that was delayed, halted by rain today with Stefan Edberg. A strike to Strange. 0-2. Steffi Graf in one of the women's semifinals. She can regain that world's #1 ranking, by the way, with a win. Strange, Butch Davis, and Jeff Hewson, the bottom third of the order here in the 7th. Skied and very deep and very high and gone to right field. Doug Strange with a big home run to lead off the 7th inning, his 3rd of the year.
Where is this guy getting the power from? I mean, that's in the upper tank in right field. Doug Strange has never shown this kind of power in his career earlier. That was a blast.
David McCarty, the right fielder, didn't even move. That ball was hit so high in the air that it didn't look like it was going to have that much distance originally, but it just keeps going.
Talk about full extension. That's in the upper tank down the aisleway.
That's it for the parking lot. Butch Davis has doubled, scored, and walked.
Memory serves me right. Since this ballpark opened, there's only been one player that's hit 2 into the upper deck in the same game. It's a guy named Tony Bernazard. Not exactly your household name.
No. All the guys that have hit here, and with the reputation this park has as being the Homer Dome, that is not a name that would immediately leap to mind. Popped up in the infield. Pagliarulo coming in and taking charge. 1 away. Butch Davis retired on the pop-out. Doug Strange leadoff homer makes it a 3-run Minnesota lead, 6-3 now.
Looks like Trombley was going to call for that ball himself, and Pagliarulo says, "Get out of here."
Strange's home run measured at 415 feet. I don't know about that.
Check his bat.
Well, I thought you'd be one that would say that all those second basemen can hit with power.
Yeah, right.
Jeff Houston had a single to center in the 5th inning after flying out to right field in the 3rd.
I want to check Davy Johnson's bat from 1973.
There you go. There was a second baseman that hit a few home runs. If memory serves me, Davy hit 42 while playing second and one more for 43 total that year. But it was in Atlanta now.
Well,
not all of them.
It's amazing how few home runs have been flying out of Atlanta since they got some guys named Smoltz and Maddox and Glavine and Avery.
Well, what's that other cliche? Good pitching stops good hitting.
Let's see. Where did we hear that? Glenn Tuckett, BYU coach. Is he the first guy that said that?
No, actually, I think it was long before that. A little looper caught by Jeff Rabelais for out number 2.
Larry Cassian starting to heat up. He just came out of the bullpen, or out of the minors, replacing Mark Guthrie, who's going to be out for the season with a blood clot in his shoulder. Guthrie's going to take some anticoagulants for the next 2 months to try to thin that blood out a little bit, and then he's going to have surgery, but they expect him back next year.
Top of the order, and David Holtz, who's 1 for 3, had a bunt single his last time up, and rips one into the seats. I hope they were watching. Apparently everybody's all right.
One of the things the Rangers are really trying to find is a leadoff hitter, and we've heard the name Otis Nixon banded around a little bit. Might be a good acquisition for this club. Pretty good catcher. I'm glad the guy was watching. But David Holtz, notorious first ball hitter, draws very few walks. He isn't going to hit enough to be really your quintessential leadoff man.
And he fouls another one off, but the screen catches this one.
I'm just trying to think what Texas might be able to offer in return that Atlanta would want. I mean, Atlanta is so stocked at their AAA level right now that it's hard to figure what the Braves would really want in return.
David Holt's on base percentage is only .306. And you can tell by the way he's hacking here that he's not what you would term a selective hitter.
Yeah, I think he had 24 walks all last year in AAA. So he's not going to get on too often via the base on balls. Not going to challenge Ricky or Brett Butler or any of those guys for that on base percentage.
Slapped down the line. Fair ball just inside the line. Holtz running hard into second, and he's going to go for third as Shane Mack took a little extra time, and Holtz hustles all the way around to third base with 2 out.
Well, Mack is saying that a fan touched the ball, but none of the umpires hustled out there to get a good look. Third base umpire Derwin Merrill did not go out, and Mack saying the ball was touched by a fan, but not getting any support from the umpire. Shane just gave up on it after this. We'll see if we can catch a peek here. Nobody touched it yet. No, Shane, you don't have an argument, pal.
He waited for it, but David Holtz didn't wait. He kept going to third and has a triple.
Now, the lesson to be learned there is even if you think a fan touched it, you should still play it like it's a hot potato, because really, no excuse for Shane. Nobody really came close to touching that ball.
Wasn't it the late Bill McGowan who said it ain't nothing till I calls it?
Absolutely.
Or maybe it was Jocko Conlon. I don't know. But you can't take anything for granted. Slapped up the middle. What a play by Rabelais. Rabelais saves a run.
We've seen a couple of defensive gems tonight, Rabelais and Dean Bauer. Full extension. Fabulous play by the young shortstop.
A run for the Rangers on a leadoff homer by Doug Strange. Minnesota leading by 3. Kirby Puckett leading off the inning for Minnesota. It's the first pitch to Jeff Rabelais and is out for the first time tonight. Puckett had hits in each of his first 3 at-bats.
I think I've finally figured out why Kirby Puckett maybe doesn't get the accolades that he deserves. Because he's such a notorious first ball hitter, he doesn't give us enough time to talk about him.
Cuts down on the publicity.
Really?
1 out, nobody on. Kent Herbeck, who's 0 for 3, the hitter. Kirby has flied to shallow center, grounded into a double play, and was punched out on a called third strike. which he disagreed with. Ball one. Or with which he disagreed, I guess, would be a better way to put that. 1-1.
Kirby hasn't written his autobiography yet. Kirby Puckett has his out. I think it's called Man, Do I Love This Game.
Ground ball to second. Again, Doug Strange playing short right field. Throws him out, 2 away.
But Herbie has threatened when he writes his, is going to say, man, I love this game, but I like the beer afterwards, too. Herbie's a free spirit. He has a lot of fun.
2 out, nobody on for Brian Harper, who homered to lead off the 6th inning, his 5th of the year. Started a 3-run inning for the Minnesota Twins that has given them the 3-run advantage they enjoy. Strike one. Harper started the night hitting .355 here at home this year. One.
Burns working him away after seeing what he did with the inside pitch last time around.
Way outside, 2-1.
One thing about Brian Harper, very rarely does he do either of 2 things, walk or strike out. Very difficult to walk. Second toughest man in the league after Felix Fermin to strike out.
That one right on the corner. Strike 2, 2-2. 2 out, nobody on. Todd Burns working in relief of Roger Pavlik, who is responsible for all 6 runs. He worked 5 2/3. Right back to Burns. And the inning is over. An easy inning as Minnesota goes in order here in the 7th. They still, however, lead Texas by 3.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when. And by Kelly Springfield, America's oldest tire company.
The beautifully illuminated state capitol here in Minneapolis. I say illuminated because you never say lit up to a ball player. Especially a pitcher.
Yeah, I think I said lit up, and there's no such word. It's all right. When you see these outfielders dive for balls, it's so tough to say that you could have dove for it, could have dived for it. But you know, we got to get the dictionary out.
Yeah.
No such word.
Personally, I believe either is correct, but then my name is not Webster. Rafael Palmeiro 1 for 3, doubled to right center in the 3rd inning, leading off the 8th. The Rangers down by 3, 6-3 Minnesota. Mike Trombley working in relief of Willie Banks. Strike 2. Strike 3.
Got him with that changeup. Trombley's changeup looks very similar to Willie Banks. It kind of fades a little bit away. So that one started inside, and the bottom fell out of it. So Palmeiro still struggling a little bit, trying to get back to that 1991 form when he hit .322, led the majors in doubles with 49.
First strikeout for Trombley. And here's Ivan Rodriguez, who is 0 for 3. Robbed of an extra base hit on a fine play by Shane Mack off the left field wall, leading off the 6th inning. Just outside, ball 1. Boy, do they like this guy. You talked earlier about Kevin Kennedy talking about his talent, but how valuable Petralli is. A little more experience. Here's a young man who's, you know, came to the big leagues as a teenager. Let's give him a little time. Awesome potential.
3rd youngest Gold Glove winner ever. Kenny Hubbs and Johnny Bench were the only 2 guys younger.
Fights off the inside pitch, rather. A ball and 2 strikes, batting with 1 out and nobody on.
Somebody was talking one day about, you know, this kid has a chance to be the best catcher in baseball, and the super scout for the Toronto Blue Jays, Al Lamacchia, said, has a chance. He already is.
Foul back. Still 1-2.
A little bit of a thumb bruise. That's one of the reasons he's getting the night off from the catching duties tonight. Raining outside, guys?
I don't know. It looks like normal ballpark attire, I guess. Jeff Rebelay throws out Rodriguez 2 away. And again, a reminder, tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals here on ESPN. The LA Kings and the Montreal Canadiens. Kings leading it. They won 4-1 last night behind Luc Robitaille and Wayne Gretzky. No surprise there. And the Les Canadiens will try to get back at them tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Game 2 of the finals here on ESPN. 2 out and nobody on for Dean Palmer, who looks at ball 1. Palmer 0 for 3 has struck out, hit a looping liner to short and fly to center.
Thorny had his game face on last night. I listened a little bit of that game.
Oh, did you? Thorny is outstanding at hockey. Just one of the best. Gary Thorne, our compatriot, not too shabby on baseball either. 1-1. Good play by Pags. And a 1-2-3 inning in the 8th for Mike Trombley. Minnesota still up by 3 in the middle of the 8th. 6-3, Minnesota leading. Kevin Kennedy, the Rangers coach, talking about yelling at his players. He thinks you can do it.
I've had a couple of periods where I've had to get upset, and sometimes the good coaches have to do that. And the guys that take that too personally and say, well, you can't get upset at a player these days, I don't believe in that. And then they're the weak ones, and maybe that's the reason they haven't, some of those players haven't been winners. I'm going to make them a winner. We're going to find a way, and we're going to get through this. And like you said, we're only 2.5 out, and we as a Texas Ranger Ball Club have not begun to play well yet.
Dave Campbell talking with him before the game, and there are some people who say that you can't do that with today's players, and Kevin disagrees.
Well, you take a look at Kevin Kennedy, a former catcher. He's got that steely, he's got kind of that linebacker look in his eyes.
Shane Mack with a base hit to left field. Butch Davis up with it, and Mack leads off the 8th with his first hit of the night. I think one of the Rangers' problems has been they just, not only the injuries, but they haven't been hitting. And when you're not hitting, it seems like everything else starts to fall apart after a certain period of time. Here's a guy who has been hitting. Rookie David McCarty. His first big league home run his last at bat. He's also walked and scored and grounded out to short. And you talked earlier, Dave, there's Andy McPhail, the GM of the Twins. You talked earlier about the decision that David McCarty is forcing, really, McPhail to have to make.
Well, the book was that McCarty was not going to sit this year. But the way he's hitting right now, I think the Twins are going to be a little tough to justify it to the Twins fans, as they've won 6 out of their last 7, and he's hitting up a storm to send this kid out. So I think as long as he's hitting, he's going to stay in there.
And the runner Shane Mack goes from first. The throw is low, but a good job to scoop it by Doug Strange and make the tag. Gino Petralli throws him out. 1 away in the 8th inning.
Rangers have guessed a couple of times tonight, and this time they get it right. Hit and run was on, and give Todd Burns credit. He gave Petralli an excellent throw to handle. Boy, you want that throw chest high right outside, and Petralli is a little bit low, but Strange helps him out and gets the tag down as Mack comes in head first.
Outside to McCarty. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes now with 1 out and nobody on base.
So often pitchers have a tendency to either rush their delivery on a pitch out or aim it and not give the catcher a good ball to handle.
Good high fastball gets McCarty for out number 2. And for Todd Burns, his first strikeout.
Todd saying something to Dean Palmer. didn't read lips too well. Kevin Kennedy looks like he may make a pitching change. Craig Lefferts just off the DL. And maybe Kennedy wants to have him get a batter here with Pagliarulo coming in. So it could be he just wants to get Lefferts a batter in this situation. This is something Tony La Russa does a lot of times to try to keep his bullpen sharp.
And Lefferts will come into the game with 2 out, nobody on here in the 8th inning. And as he does, sprints from the bullpen. Minnesota still leading at 6-3. We'll be back. Back at the Metrodome, Steve Zabriskie and Dave Campbell were in the 8th inning, and Craig Lefferts in just off the DL today. And the first pitch to Mike Pagliarulo hit up the middle. Doug Strange with a good play, and that ends the inning. So Lefferts comes in to face Pagliarulo, pitches 1 pitch, and gets the 3rd out of the inning. We have played 8 in the Metrodome. 9 runs scored. Minnesota has 6 of them.
A Colossus, his 18th home run into the monument off Jimmy Key. He has 51 RBIs, a Major League winning 18 home runs. He takes it to the suspended list for the weekend. Yanks win 8-5.
Thank you, Gary. Right here, it's Rick Aguilera time in the Metrodome. A 3-run lead for the Twins going to the 9th inning, and Aguilera, who has 13 saves on the year in 15 chances, is out of the pen.
One of the few bright spots for the Minnesota Twins pitching staff this year. He's been their main man coming out of the pen for the last 3 to 4 years. One of his keys this year has been getting the first batter. 19 of the 22 first batters he's faced. He is retired, allowed 2 walks and a hit. And again, if you can keep that first batter you face off base, your chances for success are greatly improved.
Good job by Mike Trombley, the rookie who pitched the middle innings for Minnesota, as he threw 40 pitches and 30 of them were strikes. He worked 3 innings of relief and gave up just 1 run.
And again, it goes back to that key moment in the 5th inning. Willie Banks, bases loaded, nobody out, got a key strike out of DeCenzo, and then got Palmeiro, after pitching him brilliantly, to bounce into an inning-ending double play, and the Twins have not been headed since.
Willie Banks stands to pick up his 5th win of the year if Aguilera can close it out. And Gino Petralli leading off the inning, fouls it off. Gino tonight 1 for 3. Single to right back in the 2nd inning. Since then, he's grounded to second base twice.
Keep meaning to ask Rick. I read something one time that he carries a softball around in his car and jams his fingers into it to help with that split finger pitch. I don't know if that's true or not.
I know he did it when he first started to learn the pitch. Petralli hits another one to second. Knobloch throws him out for the 3rd time. 1 away.
Just kind of to stretch those muscles to get those fingers a little wider.
You know, it's funny how the split finger has waned in popularity. I think, you know, when Roger Craig had so much success teaching it to his staff and to others, even guys who weren't on his staff, he helped. A lot of guys started throwing it.
I think the guys that still utilize it maybe 10 to 15% of the time it can be a very useful weapon. But what happens is, because pitchers have some early success with it, because it's a new pitch for them, they have a tendency to fall in love with the pitch, and then they want to start throwing it 50 to 60% of the time. They stop throwing their fastball, and then they start losing their fastball, and next thing you know, they got arm problems.
Yep. Too much of what they think is going to be a good thing. Aggie bounces one up there to Doug Strange. 1-1.
Kind of like a young kid getting a new Christmas present. Boy, they wear that thing out the first 2 weeks, but I mean,
Daddy, my train doesn't work anymore.
Pitcher comes up with a changeup or a new pitch, and they have some success. They just go, wow, I love this pitch. I love this pitch.
That was a good splitter right there, and it's a ball on 2 strikes to Strange. Instead of Daddy, my train doesn't work anymore, it's Trainer, my arm doesn't work anymore.
Can I have a transplant, please?
1 out, nobody on. We're in the 9th. Time call.
I think Brian Harper put down the fastball sign. Ag started to come up and went, maybe I don't want to throw a fastball here. I just saw one last time this kid was up, go in the upper deck.
He's ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. Fouled off, still 1 and 2.
But he heated him up. Pretty good swing by Strange.
Strange has struck out, lined hard to first, and then homered to right, his third homer of the year, leading off the 7th inning. He entered the game hitting just .150 in his last 12 games. Hit high in the air to center field. Kirby Puckett has plenty of room. 2-away.
See Julio Franco with a bat there. He probably will come on if it's a key situation as he grabs the helmet. But Rangers need a couple of runners. Got Houston on deck. Could hit for him. And Gonzalez might be able to pinch hit if they could get 2 guys on base.
Butch Davis will have to help out, but not with that swing. Strike 1. Davis doubled and scored in the 3rd inning, walked in the 5th, and popped out to the 3rd baseman Paliarulo in the 7th.
Well, if the Twins hold on, it's 7 out of 8. White Sox won tonight. California playing Toronto, trailing at last glance 2-0. But Minnesota, if they can get a streak together, you never know.
Butch chases one out of the strike zone, and it's 0-2.
1991, when the Twins last won, they started out the season 2-9, but then they ran off a 15-game winning streak.
Crowd looking for the final strike. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, nobody on. And they get it. Aguilera with 3 breaking pitches overpowers Butch Davis and pitches a 1-2-3 ninth to pick up his 14th save of the year, and Minnesota's on a roll, Dave.
Really are. Only negative is the concern over the condition of Willie Banks' shoulder, but Trombley pitched well. Aggie did his job, and they utilized the long ball to produce 5 of the 6 runs.
Thanks for being with us on Wednesday Night Baseball. Steve Zabriskie for Dave Campbell, saying so long from the Metrodome, where the Twins have beaten the Rangers 6-3. Now let's go to Roy Firestone and up close with his special guest, Sugar Ray Leonard.